What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, invading California for Namm 2020, and we are here with Mark of Suicide Silence. Thank you so much, man.
Hey, man, no problem. What's going on? How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be able to talk to the first band I ever saw live over 10 years
Where
ago.
was that?
Izod Center, April 22nd, 2009. Disturbed, Killswitch Engage, Lacuna Coil, Chimera, you guys, and Bury Your Dead.
Us in the parking lot. Spine Shank was there too.
Yep, Spine Shank.
Yeah. That was a good time. That was the Music is a Weapon tour,
Yep,
right?
yep. I'm very sad. I never got to see Pantera. I never got to see Type O Negative, but I got to see Spine Shank.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know if that really balances out, but you know.
New metal
Johnny Santos, dude, he's the man.
Most underrated new metal band of all time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So your newest record is Become the Hunter, and what I was curious about is, did you consider this just continuing where you left off after the 2017 self-titled record, or is this like a new start for Suicide Silence?
It's kind of a return to form. I think that, Suicide Silence self-titled record was like an exploration, total experimentation, total roll of the dice on is anybody going to like this kind of thing. And the good thing about that was us personally had a great time putting that record together, making that music. And then obviously some of the fans didn't really like it, but it reminded us what we fucking really love to do and what we're really good at, which is being brutal as fuck and making a fun record. So we wrote a fun, brutal, fucking badass record, Become the Hunter. And to me, I think it's I know people say this all the time, but it's the best shit we've ever done. It really is my favorite shit I've ever written. So.
Well, I thought, for somebody who was listening to You Only Live Once back when I was in high school in those days, and then, hearing a song like Doris or Conformity or Silence, I thought, wow, what more doors have opened for this band? Do you think that maybe, you thought about experimenting even further than what you did on the self-titled?
Yeah, I think at this point, what we learned from that record, I think we are willing to experiment, and we know we can, and we're not afraid of that potential kind of backlash for people maybe not liking something that we did. But I think just to kind of reel it back, we knew we've always been a for the fans band, and we wrote that record and it was more for us. It was we need to do this. We want to do this. But, really it's we are this living organism with our fans, and it's we want to make them happy, and that makes us happy when when they're stoked. So, we kind of had to go back to it. It's what do our fans want us to do? And it's pretty obvious they want us to be fucking heavy and slamming and super fun. There you go.
So one thing I was always really curious about is, as somebody who has seen you live now, I think maybe 10, 12 times, it's always a completely different experience seeing you live versus simply listening to you. So for you, is there a similar energy into your live presence as when you are recording, or is it a completely separate art altogether?
The challenging part about being in a band that records music is when you record your music, how much of a grasp do you have on what you sound like live, and how much are you trying to take what you do on stage and bring it to the studio? So it is kind of these two art forms that if you know what you are as a live band, then you're trying to recreate that in the studio all the time. So I think we've always kind of progressively, evolved as far as our sound and what maybe gear we're using or how we want to, put ourselves out there. And I think we're slowly but surely still, growing and figuring out how to accurately represent what we do on stage in the studio. And again, Become the Hunter, I think it's the closest thing that we've gotten to this is our essence, on stage. Because we've always been a live band, The Cleansing, that's why we recorded that whole entire record live. We just got in the room together and recorded that. That was our first record. And from there, we've been, slowly developing, trying to figure out how is it we can get it, how can we be what we are on stage, on record. It's a hard thing to do.
Well, most bands usually do it the opposite way. How can, you say you look at yourself as a live band before you start recording. A lot of people record and then are busting their ass thinking, how are we going to replicate this live?
Yeah, and that kind of sucks. That's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to catch up to because the technology in the studio, you can get ahead of yourself real easily and make yourself sound a certain way in the studio, and then you're kind of mimicking something that you did in the studio as opposed to taking what you're naturally doing as a band and trying to create that on album. Tons. I mean, you go back to the 60s and 70s and 80s. Like that's what like a lot of bands, the best of the best bands, their records sounded the way they did on stage. You'd go watch Pink Floyd and you'd be like, this is fucking amazing. But then there's like, you go listen to Boston or you go see Boston. It's like, wait, they can't do what they did in studio. So it's like, I think that's, it's the name of the game. I think everybody's trying to, match one or the other.
Now, for your guitar playing style, what I was curious is because your music is very rhythmic oriented. So, do you need like drums or like a rhythm before you play in your part, or like with like soloing? Do you follow like a theoretical element? How do you come up with like your style of riffs and your style of playing?
It really varies, depending on song to song. Sometimes something will like come from a particular like theoretical motif, like some idea. It's like this song really is built around like, Hungarian minor or something. We'll have something that's like that. But for the most part, it's kind of all over the map. Sometimes it's like anti-theory, like, and we really do have songs where it's like this is like an anti-song, or like this riff is an anti-riff. It's got no, kind of real structure, and that's what makes it what it is. We kind of we bounce all over the place, but I think we try not to stick to just one particular way of doing it, and it does come with a lot of jamming. And I usually tend to like, I'll play guitar and just like be riffing and coming up with whatever's coming, and as soon as Alex like starts playing a beat to whatever I'm playing, I'm like, okay, this is what we should be like working on, because we're all like, locking in. We pick up on, we try to go with a live aspect of writing, as we're in the room together, Yeah. So.
And I have two more questions for you. We'll do the hardest one of the whole interview.
Okay.
How do you know when a song is done?
I feel like it's never really done. I feel like even when you're in the studio, you finish it, and then once you start playing it live, there's always these little aspects you might change. Like, oh, we're going to throw this catch in here that we didn't do in the studio. And I think that also makes it fun, too, because for the listener, you go and watch a band play and they do something a little bit different. I know Metallica is like king of that. Like, you listen to live recordings and you're like, I hear Kirk Hammett always do this, but it's not on the record. So I don't think they're ever done, man. Yeah.
And the final question is, let's just do a gear rundown. What's in the Suicide Silence arsenal?
I'm using the JP2C, the Mesa Boogie head. That's my main head that I'm using. I use my 4x12 Mesa cabs, ESP guitars, my custom Vs. I got a bunch of Dunlop pedals, Diodario strings. What else am I doing? I just got the Dumble guitars. It's the Eidolon. It's a reverb delay. 20 dB boost, which is great for leads, or it's great for cleans. So you can boost your clean or boost your leads. It's a fucking awesome pedal. What else am I using? That's it. That's my shit. Yeah.
Awesome. It seems like it really suits the style of music that you play, right? It's like it's something you sound comfortable using, but it's also like it really has that Suicide Silence.
Totally, man. It's gotta be fucking hard.
Yep. As Jamie Joss.
I know. That's why I threw it out there.
Yep. Do you ever play the Joss Show drinking game?
No, what is it? How?
You have to do a shot every time he goes hard, and every time he interrupts the podcast and plugs it for an ad, you have to keep chugging your beer till it's over.
Fuck, that's hard.
So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time. I know that you're hitting the road with Ginger for May. Is there just anything else you want to promote for the Become the Hunter record cycle?
Well, we're doing Knotfest Japan. We'll be in Indonesia for Hammer Sonic. We're doing Brick by Brick in San Diego on the album release day, Valentine's Day. We're going to be at Gorilla Mall in North Hollywood doing like a lunch meet and greet on Saturday the 15th, and we'll be at Fingerprints record store also Saturday evening in Long Beach doing a meet and greet. So, yeah, that's what's up.
Awesome. Well, Mark, always great to see you, man. Everybody, Mark of Suicide Silence, Become the Hunter, coming very soon. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.